When was the last time you took a leap of faith, trusting that everything is going to work out? Do you crave growth, or are you merely content with the status quo? If you want more out of your life, out of your career, and out of your relationships, you are in the right place. Take the leap and discover how to create a life by design rather than living it by default. Real success starts with you. Now here's your host, Colleen Biggs.
Hello, listeners, and welcome back to another episode of Take the Leap. I am your host, Colleen Biggs, and we have had some amazing guests lately on this show. I know we had just spoken to Julie Jones last week, and you all got to hear all about her, how amazing she is, and how we need to start living out loud and stop waiting for our life to be perfect or go on that perfect vacation and just do it already, right? Spend some time by yourself and do the things you love. Now, for today, we're going to dive into gaining traction in your business. Now, not to be forgotten that we still want you to have fun, but there's a lot of individuals, especially women, that my guests and I have noticed since COVID have really stalled out. And maybe their business slowed down, or maybe they got complacent, or maybe because their children were home, they had to really kick into mom mode more, and they didn't get to focus on their business the way they wanted to. So in this episode, we're really going to dive into gaining traction in your business, give you tips, give you tools on how to do that. And of course, our guest, Beth Ann Kaib, is here to help us through all of that. And before we get to Beth Ann, I just want to thank our sponsor of today's show, The Adventures of Julie Jones and Get Shit Done. Are you overwhelmed and overworked with a never-ending to-do list? Do you constantly feel tired because life seems hard and needs are nowhere near the top of the priority list? As an adventure and breakthrough coach, Julie Jones will support you in a life that is easy, effortless, and most of all, fun. Stop spending time on the have-tos in life and start truly living the life of I get to. What are you waiting for? Take action and go to juliejones.biz and book a free 30-minute Live Out Loud call with Julie. Promise you won't be sorry you ever had that call. All right, let's go ahead and get to our guest for today's show, Beth Ann Kaib. She is the owner and founder of Nomadic Cowgirl. She helps aspiring entrepreneurs turn their dreams into a reality by building a solid foundation to launch their businesses or scale their businesses. She's assisted numerous motivated founders turn their fragmented ideas from conception into reality through business name creation, structure, website development, and advertising. She helps her clients solidify their entire development process, and that's huge. So, Beth Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You know, I went back and forth a lot on the title of today's show of what we should talk about, because I believe there's so many people out there that don't know how to start a business. They're nervous. Maybe they've watched a course and then now they've decided to jump into doing a business. What has brought you, let's get our listeners to know you a little bit better. What has brought you to the point now where you've launched your own business and now you're assisting other individuals in doing the same, but also you're attracting women that feel stalled? So what was your story to get here, Beth?
So I'm what I refer to as a serial entrepreneur. I've started up many businesses and I loved the startup. I loved getting them launched, all of the creativity and the building foundation to get to that point. And shortly after it launched, it was that mundane day-to-day stuff, and my business would tank because my heart was not in that. My heart was in the launching aspect. I had a couple friends that wanted to start some businesses, and they reached out and asked if I could help, said sure, and I absolutely loved it. And it didn't take me too long to figure out that is what I should be doing. There's so many solo entrepreneurs out there trying to start up their business or, grow it, and they don't know what they don't know. And I've seen so many women, so many business owners get taken advantage of, from websites to not knowing they need insurance or whatever. And just, I love being there to guide them and help them and provide them services at a reasonable cost.
I love that. Back in corporate America, that was what I did. My whole consulting side was launching businesses. So it was all the startup rage. And I had a lot of owners, business owners that I worked with that would tell me, and they would start multiple businesses. And they said the reason why they do it is because once they get it up and running, they want to turn it over to employees. They want to hire a manager, and they want the manager to run it. And then they want to go and start another, because they love that rush. I think you're right. Like my husband and I own several businesses, and I can tell you that I really, really, really enjoy the startup phase and the new energy and that kind of newfound like excitement for the business. So tell us what's happening that you're seeing today with women in business. And of course, I'll share my view on it as well. But what are you seeing that is happening with female entrepreneurs? Do you work with males as well, or mainly female entrepreneurs?
I do, but the majority is female.
Yeah. They seem to be the ones that reach out for help, is what I'm finding, right? On the business side of things, to have some assistance in doing that build. So talk me through a little bit of, what are you seeing in the market today? What are the women struggling with? What has happened since COVID?
So most businesses have had to like pivot at some point, either through COVID or the after COVID transition. And that's kind of where I'm at right now as well. The majority of the people that have been coming to me are women coming out of COVID. And during COVID, they had to take on that role as a mom, and they did all the stay-at-home stuff. And so many people were laid off. And I find a lot of women have like resorted back to their corporate America jobs. And now they're looking to kind of rebuild their side gig now that they're, things are a little stable again. And so they have existing businesses, but it's sat dormant for a couple of years or just like barely doing anything. So I've had a lot of people reach out to me, and I come in and come up with like a whole new plan of, all right, let's, rebuild that foundation. This is how to get you back up to the times and what we're doing now, and get them successful to get back out there and attract like their audience again.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this spiral of fear that I think has happened in between that 2020. So a lot of business owners that pivoted very quickly, like I pivoted very quickly. In fact, I had pivoted in October of 2019 just because it was costing me too much money to fly around the United States to do everything I was doing in person. And I was like, I got to do this online. And I had been using Zoom for about 6 years up to that point, like long before everyone jumped on Zoom. And I started creating all of my networking online, all of my events online. And I started doing it through Zoom, thinking, I don't know how this is going to work out, but if, I've been doing it with clients for 20 years, so maybe this will work. Luckily, God really helped guide me into doing that, because when I produced that, when the women were like, I don't know what to do, I can't get on a stage anymore, I can't sell my books anymore, I'm like, we can do everything online. So, my business exploded in 2020, continued to explode in 2021. And then in 2022, I noticed that there was actually a market retraction that happened. Did you feel that in 2022?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. I feel like in the 20 and in 21 and it's not for everyone. Some people lost their businesses, so they rebuilt, they pivoted in 2020. Then 2021 was a really good year for them. And then it felt like in the year 2022, now in my business, I had some rebuilding that happened, but I felt like people were starting to get a little burnt out from online. They already had the people they were working with and the resources, and everyone was then producing so much content that they were drowning in content and they were just craving connection.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted that actual connection, not the online.
Right. The in-person connection. So then we started getting out of our houses more, started connecting in person more. I know there's a lot of conferences that are back to pre-COVID numbers now because everyone's getting back out there. And so I see 2023 being a very lucrative year and kind of getting back to maybe the pre-COVID numbers. So it's a great time, wouldn't you say, for someone to kind of grab what they were doing before or start really take that side gig and scale that and become like that emerging entrepreneur that's coming out of, something brand new, because when you create something new, you're excited about it. What are some of the fears that you see in your clients for gaining traction in their business?
Oh, the hardest thing is that they don't believe in themselves. And it's just like heartbreaking to watch. Everyone thinks they have to go it alone and they have something to prove to the world, and they're not successful if they don't do it by themselves. And that's just not the case. It takes a village to raise a kid. So why would it not take a community to build your business? It's all about the connections and the people that you meet, and what can you offer somebody? What can they offer you, and how to make yourself more visible?
Yeah. When you're in your mind space, the mind space of, I have to do all of this work, I have to be the one to make everything happen. There's this other power that, whether you believe, my power is God, but for some people that power is universe, it's energy, it's Buddha, it's whatever their energy is. Mine is God. I have to frequently remind myself that it's not all my doing, that when I pray enough, when I sit and separate myself and take time to journal and really let a lot of things come through me and out of me and realize the world is working through me and for me, not against me or to me, that really shifts your mindset to feeling like, there's only so much I can control. At that point, it really has to just be the decision of other people. Like, you can't chase down a person and be like, you're gonna work with me, you're gonna hire my company. That crap doesn't work. You can't beat someone to oblivion to working with you, which is, the follow-up, come on, you haven't heard from me. It's like, if someone ghosts me, then I just know they're not ready to work with me, right? Like, that's not my ideal client. My ideal clients are attracted to me. They love my energy. They know they need something like that in their life. They know they need a business coach, or they know they need a community where women come together and support each other and they feel included and they get to meet other women and collaborate with them. So for me, I have just really relaxed compared to kind of the tenseness I was in corporate America, to believing that everything is going to work out the way it should work out. And sometimes that package doesn't always look to me the way that I expect it to look. I've had things fail. I mean, I've had plenty of programs fail. I have promoted programs and had 0 people enroll. And some women are like, oh, I couldn't, what am I supposed to do? It's like, then you just promote it again. Like,
you don't truly fail if you don't learn from it.
Right. So. It's a stepping stone.
Yeah.
What you have behind you, I know a lot of people can't see, but it's mindset is everything. And it shows like, it shows you either look in the mirror and see yourself as a little kitty cat, or you look in the mirror and you see yourself as a fierce lion. Yeah. That is within. That comes from within. Now, when you said the self-belief is the biggest problem, and I find the same thing, and I tell everyone I'm not a life coach. Like, I'm not a life coach. I've never gone to life coaching school or been certified. I've spent 22 years in the trenches with business owners, launching and building businesses. That's what I've done. That's what I do, right? But there's a component side of working with someone that always has to be focused on them. Yeah. And so how do you mesh those? Give us an example with a client that you're working with, because I would love to hear what are the tips that you give to your clients, both on the business side and both on the mental mindset side, that really help them start moving forward to get traction again in their business?
Man, so many clients come and they're like, well, I'm not sure. I hear a lot of, I'm not sure. So I'm not a coach. I don't advertise coaching, but I definitely have like a built-in element of coaching and just talking through stuff. So when they say I'm not sure, my general response is, well, why not? What's stopping you? Like, what is that what you want to do? What do you want? You have to be clear on what you want in order to
Tip
move
number
forward.
one, you have to be clear on what you want. Clarity provides so much confidence. That's
Yeah.
number one. Yes,
Yeah.
I love that. Great.
Definitely. Yeah. So once they gain that clarity, then it's like, okay, we assess everything they want and okay, let's start building it. Like, what do you have in place? Do you have a name? If not, let's get you a name and, let's make sure it's a good fit. Let's make sure the domain's available. Let's make sure that everything is set up so that it flows easily for you.
So now they're creating a plan and taking action. Right. So now they're doing things to start building that business, or even if they've got all the LLCs and the EIN numbers and the domain and everything's done. Now you're teaching them how to start getting traction in their business. And I think you nailed it, Beth, when you said clarity is number one. They don't know what they want. So that's why goals are so important.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And I like when somebody comes to me with goals, I love to crush them and I love to rebuild them because no one ever thinks big enough, myself included. We just, we're like, our stars are right here, but no, they're way the heck up there. Why are we not reaching for them?
Mm-hmm.
So
I totally agree. And there's, my other tip I would add to that is measure. Because I run the 12-week year, which is not something I created. It's a book called the 12-week year, but I run them quarterly so that women can jump in and look at 1 to 2 goals and crush them meaning reach them over that 12 weeks, because 12 weeks is not a long time, but it's long enough. But the piece that's always missing, Beth Ann, is the measurement piece. When we don't measure our actions to see what it's producing, what they would call a lag number. So your results, when you're measuring your actions every week, if your actions are above 85%, you most likely won't reach your goal. And many people would come to the calls every week and be like, oh, I'm at 60%. Oh, I'm at 70%. It's like, why is this one goal not important to you enough that you would do it 100%? What are all of the other things getting in your way? Because this is the goal you said for the first quarter of the year is the most important goal for you, which should be in alignment with your whole entire goal for the year, right?
Yeah.
It never made sense to me how they were so busy doing all the other stuff that isn't really producing anything. Mm-hmm. I think measurement's huge, not only for mindset, but for confidence, because you might think I'm having a crappy month, but then you go and you look at your QuickBooks or you go and you look at last year and you're like, oh, my revenue is actually over what it was last year. But to me, I felt like I was having a crappy month.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are huge.
So important. Yes.
Yeah. So important. So what other tips would you give entrepreneurs that are looking to gain traction in their business?
Yeah. I have a lot of clients that wear multiple hats. They're the wife, the mother, and all the things. And they don't have enough time in the day to do anymore. Yet they have these big dreams and aspirations. So I've helped many clients actually break down their time. And okay, can you not afford 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the afternoon, 5 days a week? Like add that up. What does that look like at the end of the week? Can you crunch in 2 hours on Saturday and then take Sunday off as a break? And when you kind of break it down into bite-sized things, and I give a lot of my clients homework. I'm notorious for my homework. And I make up this cute little image and I email it or text it off to them. And it gives them a little checklist that's themed around their business. So like one of my horse businesses, they have little horseshoes for check marks. And it's just bite-sized little nuggets that they can do in those 15 minutes. And quite often those come in the form of, all right, you got to get clear. Like these are the things you have to get clear on. So I think having a little checklist works really well too. And just breaking down the time.
I really love that. Probably about 15 years ago, I started something called time management. I started it because in corporate America, people would start booking on my calendar for meetings when I became an executive, and they would have me go into these meetings. And those were times when I needed to talk to other clients or times, but I didn't have it on my calendar. And they would take my lunch hour. And I said, I have to take back my time. Like, my clients are important, and they should have to work around my schedule. So I started time blocking myself. And this was by accident. I've been to time blocking classes, but I started putting on my schedule. I need to meet with this client. I need to work on this project. I need to, drive to this appointment, or I'm going to go to lunch at this time. And I used to work out then at my lunch hour. So I was really angry if someone would book over that time, because that was my workout time, right? That I wanted to go to. That has now morphed into my entire day, from the time I plug in to the time I plug out, is completely time blocked. Meaning, when someone tells me my magazine, article is due, or the chapter for a book is due, or you need to have this cover to us, or you need to send us, your workshop details, because I'm hired to do a workshop, whatever it is, I put the due date on my calendar. Then I back it up and look at my calendar of when am I going to work on this? And then I block out that time, and then I forget about it. Yep. So then on Tuesday, the 24th, it has 2 hours blocked out that I'm working on a workshop, and I'm like, awesome. So then I can just start digging in and doing all my research and putting everything together that I need to. And if I don't finish it, I can block out more time. I think that actually helps your productivity, so that you are working on the things that you need to be working on that are moving the needle, and you never forget an appointment. You never not get anything done on a deadline, and you don't have to keep it all in your brain. Can you imagine walking around with all that in your brain?
That's too much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think time blocking is a huge success. Yeah. And having, like you said, a list. Like, I have a little list that I keep on my desk that says, do it now or do it later. You've got one of those too? Yeah. So I just think it's great, to have those little lists, and I write it down during the day. If there's something that comes to my mind, or someone, I say, oh yeah, I'll send that to you. I write it down right away on this list. That's kind of outside of my time blocking during the day. That'll be like my returning emails. Maybe we should talk about that. Gaining traction in your business. What are some things that you find owners get inundated with, and they're just handling the mundane things that they really shouldn't be focusing on?
So many people handle all this. Like, you go into business to do whatever your skill is, or to sell whatever you're selling.
Product or service. Yeah.
Right. Your product or service. And there is that mundane everyday stuff. Why would you not outsource that? I mean, if you hate doing it, it's going to come across in every email you send and everything else. Don't just hire somebody to handle that for you. You're getting your time back. And I'm a huge advocate, especially for women, self-care. And self-care needs to be first. And we quite often, that's like the first thing we sacrifice. We don't make that promise to ourselves to take care of ourselves. So if you can pay somebody to manage your email, to, organize everything, to file things, why would you not do that, so that you can take care of yourself and have that precious time with your family or your loved one or whomever?
Yeah. What about, would you say, the energy it takes to continue to gain traction in your business? I know the number one thing that produces the most confidence is generating income, by far. When you say like, and I think that kind of isn't always on the forefront. It seems to be a little far down the list. There's so many other things that they're doing. You're like, your website's good enough. Like, that is good enough. That is good enough. Get out there. I've sold products and services without having any links, without having any, any websites. I've sold things before I've actually created them.
Because it's your passion. Your passion.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think generating income, that has to be at the very top of the list. And any good, consultant like yourself out there, Beth, who is working with these individuals, that is like the number one thing. You've got to generate income. Once you're generating income, now everything else becomes a lot easier. But if you're just, grinding it out, and you're not generating any income, that willpower will only last so long. And the energy that you have to generate to continue doing that is just, it literally is so much versus when you're kind of being energized by the wins that you're having and the income that you're generating.
You have to celebrate those small wins, your big wins, your small wins, all the wins. Like you got your LLC today. Yes. Have a dance party, go buy yourself some flowers, spa day, like whatever you got to do. But you have to celebrate even the small wins. Otherwise you do lose that momentum and that like passion that you have. So celebrate everything.
Yeah. Yeah. What are some other tips for, gaining traction in their businesses? What would you say because I know you motivate people and you take them sometimes from idea, right, to a reality of a business, which, by the way, secret to be to be shown today, every person out there can start a business.
Yes.
No matter what the business is. If someone has a problem and you have a solution for it, you have a business.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that easy. So give us some more tips.
More tips. What kind of tips do you want?
I was thinking tips on when someone, what are some of the other areas that you feel your clients really work on? What are some of the things that you have them do? Marketing's a big one because you talk a lot about marketing. So how are some of the ways that we could give tips today to our listeners on how they should market themselves for a business that they run?
Visibility is key, just getting out there. And so many people are so afraid to put themselves out there. And even social media. Yes, that's great. You have these pretty pictures to put up of your product or your service or whatever. But I mean, people want to know what's in your fridge. Like that's what they want to know. They want to know who they're buying from or who they're connecting with. So you have to put your human aspect out there as well. And I'm really great at my cat. My cat, I claim as my coworker because when he wants attention, he will just plop himself right down on my keyboard. So you'll find pictures of my cat on social media, and people know my cat is Snowflake. People know I wear my boots with everything I do because that's how I've themed myself. It's my cowboy boots, and you see them in a lot of pictures. And you got to find your thing, your actual personal aspect, and put it out there. Don't be afraid to. You can get on podcasts, you can get on news reports, you can so many options, and don't be afraid to explore. And if you mess up, you know what? There's always next time.
Yeah, there's this authenticity about individuals that you can't ever dim. Yeah. You have to be able to just give yourself permission to be yourself, no matter what in business. Show up exactly who you are, how you are, and don't apologize to anyone else for that. But I do see that, there's some great ways that we can do social media. We can pay VAs to do social media for us, but hands down, like you said, they want to know what's in your fridge. So do a video, do a story, do a live video. You've got to get out there, and maybe it's photos that you use or videos of things. I can't tell you how many people I had reach out to me when our trailer started on fire a couple weekends ago. We were driving up north, and I started posting photos, not during the fire, because obviously I'm not going to get my phone out while we're trying to put a fire out. But I was posting photos about, okay, you guys won't believe what happened. This is what happened. Here are the guys that rescued us. I was promoting them all over the place for rescuing us on the side of the road. And then I was saying, hey, if you own a trailer, did you know you have to pack your bearings? Because we didn't know this. And so I started going on and on and on, having these conversations. And so many people DM'd me back, like more than when my VA puts a post out there, a quote or whatever. Exactly. And so I just decided lately that I'm just going to get on all the time and just talk about stuff. Sometimes I'm at a grandkids baseball game, or sometimes it's me flying to another city to speak, and I'm kind of taking you on the journey with me. People love that reality. It's kind of what social and culture is today. They want to peek in to know who you are. That builds the know, like, and trust factor.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yep.
And then when they know, like, and trust you, then when it gets to the point, they're like, oh, and she has a service and a product I can buy from her. Of course, I want to buy that from her. So it's not like a direct, hi, I'm selling my services today. It's really just getting out there for people, that visibility for people to know, like, and trust you and start seeing you everywhere. And then they're like, oh, I see you here and I see you there. And, I see you on social media, and then they start following you. And then now they're on your newsletter, and then that content keeps coming through. And then before you know it, you've got that visibility. So gaining traction, we've talked about a lot of the clarity. You've got to have clarity. Beth Ann gave that amazing nugget. You've also got to take action, right?
Mhm.
Once you've got the clarity, build the plan and go do the things. Get the checklist, do the things on the checklist, and celebrate all those small wins. I tend to forget to do that, Beth Ann, a little bit.
Uh-oh.
You forget to do that sometimes?
I'm guilty with my own business. I'm really good with all my clients. When it comes to my own business, yeah, I'm totally guilty.
Well, a painter's house is never painted.
Exactly.
So
This house has the worst
that's
plumbing.
what happens. No, it's so true. I totally understand it. And I also have to tell you that I get it, because, same with my clients. There's so much that they do. And then there's times in a day I look at my schedule and it's like, Colleen, my gosh. I remember my husband asked, we were walking to the mailbox. He said, so what'd you get done today? And I started naming off everything. And he was like, how did you get all that done today? And to me, it was like a typical day. And then I realized wow, Colleen, you really do get a lot done in a day, and you need to celebrate that and relax a little to know that you're doing enough.
Yes.
And I think we put that on ourselves.
Celebrate and self-care.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do self-care in the morning. We have 2 hours of self-care every morning, my husband and I do. So we work out together. We, write, journal, read, we do all that stuff. So the self-care is done, but it's just, sometimes you don't realize, like, wow, when you're focused in and you're really, focusing on your business and so much you could get done in a day, it's like, pat yourself on the back. You did a great job, today. And again, trust that you're doing enough.
Yeah.
Trust that you're doing enough. Even though you think, oh my gosh, so-and-so out there's doing so much, comparing will get you nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another big thing. Beth Ann, I want everyone to know where they can find you. Do you have a podcast? You're on Facebook, Instagram? Tell all things Beth. Right. allthingsbeth.com / yeah, I've got a lot of links here. So tell us, how can we find you? And where's the best way for a listener? Where do you want them to go follow you or DM you?
Everything's on my website, allthingsbeth.com. It literally has all things Beth, from my book to Nomadic Cowgirl and all my future adventures I plan to go on, hopefully. But Instagram and Facebook are probably the top two places to find me. I'm also on LinkedIn under my personal name, Beth Ann Kaib.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, definitely Instagram and Facebook. Email is always great too.
Yeah. So definitely go follow her on Instagram at Nomadic Cowgirl. DM her and let her know that you heard her on today's show, or follow her on Facebook. LinkedIn's another great area. Beth Ann Kaib, you can find her out there to connect with individuals, especially if you have a business. Please make sure you have a LinkedIn profile created and that you're connecting with other businesses there. So that's huge. And Beth Ann, thank you so much for being here today and providing all of those amazing tips that you provided to our listeners today. It was absolutely phenomenal. And I just want to leave our listeners with, remember, you're the only you that's ever been. You're the only you that will ever be. This is your time, just like we talked about on the last episode, to stop waiting and start living. This is your business. It's your time. Try it. Grow the business. If it doesn't go the way you want it to, then try something else. Yeah. It's just I call it just, a building block. Failures are just building blocks to success. It tells you this didn't work. Try something different. And so we've built other businesses just like you, Beth Ann. And I really think that if you were to die in a week, Why not die knowing you did everything at least you wanted to do, and you didn't play small and weren't afraid, and when you looked in the mirror you saw the fierce lion instead of the little kitty cat, right?
You have something to offer the world. Don't be selfish and keep it to yourself.
Ooh, I love that, Beth Ann. That's a great way to end the show. And with that, everyone, we will see you next week. So thank you so much for being with us. And until then, bye-bye for now.
We hope you enjoyed our show today, as our guests shared their secrets on designing their life by taking the necessary leaps to expand their influence and attract the right people and clients into their lives. To start these easy steps for yourself, be sure to visit www.colleenbiggs.net/freebies to download the 7 ways to increase your exposure today.